Let's get right to it, man. Look, the Lakers got gunned up and clapped quick. But what we all want to know is how many of Bron's words is going to come out your fat lips? I mean, we all saw it. We all see it's just becoming and then so TNT might have in one night forfeited their Emmy for the season. Right? I mean, did you so it starts with the Draymond documentary. And I know some of you will say, well, they were following him in Japan, right? So it was planned before the incident. Right, right. But like the context, as always, that's what we're going to talk about here. And the way it was framed and the way he was portrayed, he was exiled. It just wasn't a good look, man. It wasn't a good look. So, look, to be fair, I don't know how you deal with concluding that piece that they wanted to run, but you can just see the powers that be, TNT, Clutch. It just wasn't a good look. Then he comes strutting in with the green outfit. It's a facade. I could see right through it. I can see the smiles and the confidence. It's all a facade right now. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It just look, it's not so much that a teammate, and for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, that are under a rock here, I guess I got to say, there was a clip about a minute to go in the third quarter. Lakers are shooting free throws, and LeBron goes into the front court, and Draymond comes off the Warriors bench, daps him up, and talks about probably their plans later for the night, and it's not that opposing players don't fraternize. It's the optics. It's understanding the scenario. And you just looked down the row at the eyes of all the young Warriors just kind of looking like, you really doing this right now? And then you saw what Andre did. And what was funny was how Steph kept such a stone face. That to me told me that inside he was fighting back, not busting up at Andre, right? As far as the game goes, it kind of was light work, right? Like, to give you perspective on the depth of this Laker lineup, they had Juan T out there in the first quarter launching threes. Like, and that's no hate to Juan, right? But if you think about that a year ago, if Juan was checked in for us in the first quarter, putting up multiple 3-point shots, people would have been like, what's going on tonight? What's going on, right? Just to give you a perspective of that. AD comes out. It was just a lot of ISO ball for the Lakers, right? You go, I go, you go. And they wanted to force feed AD early. And, you watch Anthony Davis. To me, it's similar to Joel, who we'll talk about that first game too. But what I question with him, and first everybody's going to talk about the durability, which is an obvious thing. And I don't actually think that he's, quote, fragile. I think he just hits the floor way too much, right? It's not, he takes like 10 falls a game. Right. And so you're going to have durability issues. That's first and foremost with him. Right. But the other aspect of him is his competitive stamina. Right. Where he'll come out for a quarter, a half, he'll dominate you. Right. There'll be times where you're like, damn, if he's going to do this, damn. Right. But he never really does it for an entire game. He doesn't have competitive stamina. His baseline of competitiveness is too low. And I think Paul George suffers from the same disease. Not as bad, but it's the same thing, right? Where you'll have a 20-point quarter, dominate, and then disappear. And that's what I see from AD, health or not, right? But yeah, the shooting, everybody knew the issues that they were going to have. I thought Russ actually played pretty well. I don't know what's up with him not brushing his hair. You know what they say, right? Like when a girl changes her hair, it always means something. But I mean, that's really a human trait. And Russell Westbrook, someone who has kept a tight fade brushed all the time. He always is groomed, right? I know he's had braids before, but he's always groomed and he's looking kind of wild. I don't know what that means, right? But yeah, the Lakers' size was a little bit of an issue when they moved LeBron to the 5, and you saw him with Wiseman out there up and down the court. He beat the transition defense. The transition defense. I know I'm jumping all over the place, but that's what it leads me to, right? Because I think that's the topic if you're a Warriors fan. Like, hey, man, what was good with the transition defense? Now, there are several explanations for this, right? Conditioning. Steve talked about the starters trying to not play that many minutes. They're not in the shape that they need to be in yet. And some of it was that. You saw Clay, you saw Steph with just kind of flat-footed at midcourt, not getting back at times, right? So there is that. There's a familiarity issue where, the guys got to communicate. Hey, pick up, right? Some of these guys haven't played much minutes together on the floor at all, if at all, right? There's that. But the other aspect, if you want to talk about like schematically what happened, again, and this is why I jumped to that, when LeBron was at the 5 in particular, he was pushing the ball and getting transition baskets coast to coast, and they were just picking him up way too late. I'm not going to hold young Wiseman to that, because how many center matchups is he going to have that look like LeBron? That's a tough ask, right? But they were picking him up at the foul line. By that time, the locomotive is full steam ahead. There ain't nothing you could do with him. And same applies to Russ. And so they were picking up the ball too late in semi-transition and transition. And again, that does kind of reflect conditioning. When you're tired, you get back on your heels, and you don't want to come up, right? It's tiring to be up. It's easier to be back on your heels. And so that's what you saw. But there was also an element of kind of playing with their food. It was a little bit sloppy there, and then they took their foot off the gas. But all in all, a very successful ring night when you consider it was ring night. And the history of that, usually you kind of forfeit that first half just based off emotions and distractions. And so a win's a win. Let's talk a little bit about James Wiseman, because I think that was one of the main storylines to me, because it's not about stats. It's not about stats with him, not this year, and probably not ever. Y'all know I'm damn near written him off, but I don't care. Like, of course I want him to succeed. That's what I was most happy about, because he protected the paint and he was big. You saw him altering shots. Not even altering shots, but altering decisions. A Laker would turn the corner, get into the paint, and hit a Yui or kick it out, right? Because you can't teach that type of size. He was pretty disciplined. You saw AD struggle to shoot over the top of him, right? And so I thought that's what I liked most, right? Klay got going there in the third quarter in the jumper. I highlighted this in today's breakdown, where he had a third quarter. They ran him off the 3-point line, one dribble, ripped through, stepped into a long two. Now, I know that long twos are taboo, but again, the word context comes up. What's the context? It's not when you're Klay Thompson, and it's not when you're run off the 3-point line. And I think if Klay can get comfortable with that one dribble just off the line, he's going to be real efficient, rather than when he tries to kind of get downhill, probe the leaning stuff we saw last year. That's fine at times, particularly if there's no rim protection. But against a bigger front line like the Lakers, and with AD lurking, that one dribble pulley, I love seeing that from him. What else? I guess the storyline here for the Warriors these first 20 games, outside of this Draymond fiasco, is going to probably be the rotations. What did they have? 17, 18 turnovers. Some of it was just the typical Warrior throw the ball around systemic stuff that we're used to, but a lot of it also was familiarity. You saw a lot of guys in the corners, right? Either baseline cut or flare back out, and it was like, oh, I thought you were cutting. Oh, I thought you were flaring to the line. So that's going to get worked out, right? But I guess the question with the rotation is, you had Moses Moody played 8 minutes. Kuminga had a very quiet night. Okay, fine. It's going to be a night-to-night thing. How comfortable can these guys get if their role is so little and not consistent, right? You even heard Steph mention it in the post game, right? Like, the vets know how to get it done. These young guys are going to have to find their role, and it's going to be tough. I think that's going to be the storyline these first 10, 20 games. JaMychal Green, 23 minutes to Draymond's 25. He had 7 boards, hit 2 threes. Really nice outing for him. Kerr's natural tendency is to lean towards the vets. But with this depth, they're going to have the ability to pace themselves, having such a shortened off season. And so I'd like and hope to see nights where they can afford, like, look, JaMychal, take the night off, or Kuminga, you're going to get JaMychal's minutes, even though JaMychal, it looks like he's going to cement himself as a heavy rotation guy. And so that, again, that's what we're going to see Kerr juggling. As far as the Lakers go, man, yeah, not enough shooting, as we knew. AD, the competitive stamina, the durability, and LeBron, it looked good. LeBron, that's the thing, is like, have you seen the meme where it's him warming up and he's bobbling his dribble, and people are like, LeBron has no bag, and he doesn't, right? It's I've said this plenty of times. Stylistically, aesthetically, LeBron's game's pretty ugly, right? But one thing you have to acknowledge is it's super efficient. If you watch, he doesn't play with the ball, right? He just rips through, puts the shoulder on you, and gets to the cup. And you saw that over and over. And that's why you look up and he always has 25, 30 points, because he doesn't rely on the pretty stuff. It's just efficiency. But the coast to coast stuff, you wonder if that's sustainable. It seemed like the Lakers had some success pushing the pace. Does LeBron want to run all year? I don't know, man. I don't know. They're the mess that I think people anticipated them to be. Let's talk about the first game, Boston and Philadelphia. Tatum and Jaylen Brown combined 35. Not combined, they both went for 35. Brogdon, I think, is the story for Boston. Came in and really settled them down and is that connector. What do you have, 16 off the bench? You wonder if he's going to move into that starting lineup. And who makes those decisions. But Boston, it looked shaky at first. A lot of foul trouble. Between Harden and Joel, you want to talk about aesthetically pleasing. It's just, I don't know how many Philadelphia games I can watch at that pace and that stuff. And you hear Doc say, hey, we want to play faster. We want to play faster. And I understand that doesn't necessarily mean tempo of like pushing fast break transition, but quicker decisions even in the half court. Don't hold the ball. Don't massage the ball. And Embiid, he's just talking about LeBron and the simplicity of his game. Embiid, you could cut the moves he puts on you in half and he would be way more efficient. There's always extra, and he's infatuated with catching the ball outside of the paint, and they bring it up every time. I do think part of that are his teammates. They don't move the ball quick. Everyone's a ball stopper except for PJ Tucker, but PJ's always waiting in the corner. But Harden, Tobias, Maxey, who am I forgetting, right? But they all kind of want to stop with the ball and just size up, right? And so I think what Doc may mean is like just move the ball quicker, even if it's in the half court. But, ultimately, you heard it during the telecast, they just look too slow. They look too slow. Harden and Embiid, think about it. They are the slowest star duo in the league. It's not even close. Just slow. Just not only physically, but in how they want to operate. And that becomes so difficult when you're playing a good defense. There's nothing easy, right? And before you say, well, Jokic is a slower star than, but Jokic's passing makes him fast. Because his mind works so quick, skip pass, bap, right? And so that doesn't count, man. And so, yeah, Philly, it's not like they're going to be trash or anything. I guess the positive silver lining would be like Harden kind of looks like Harden, cheap fouls, step back threes, stuff like that, right? But, yeah, Boston took care of business. They look good considering all things around them. Again, I think Brogdon, and then also that they didn't even have the Time Lord in there, and they won't. So, I think the consensus would be Boston looks better than expected considering their situation. Brogdon fit like a glove, and Philadelphia, I don't know what the solution is to it, right? I guess the positive, you do like Tucker and Tobias in the corners, if they can just become corner specialists. But ultimately, you're always going to have Harden at that point of attack to attack defensively, regardless of how good the rest of the defense is. But yeah, those are my thoughts from opening night. Now, much bigger slate of games tonight here on night 2. And I'm actually looking forward to the early game, Orlando-Detroit. 2 contenders, not exactly, right? But those two teams combined probably have the most intriguing young rosters in the league currently. So you get to see Jaden Ivey's debut, Banchero, year 2 of Cade, Wagner. So I'll be checking for that one, and I'm sure some other later games, and I will be back tomorrow with some more takes. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.